Alright guys, bear with me because we are going over Flashy Flash versus Sonic for the third time. Technically the fourth time if you follow the webcomic continuity that we originally covered 5 years ago. Wow. And I guess I'll go over all of the versions and continuities of this battle and talk about the differences and whatnot, because why not? Let's have some fun with it. And let me give you a quick refresher on how we got to this point in case you need one or you really haven't been paying attention, which is totally understandable. So, Empty Void, leader of the Ninja Village, has awakened from his coma from his battle against Blast 15 years ago. He then gathered all of the surviving graduating members of the Ninja Village and formed the Tenito, or the Heavenly Ninja Party. They then confronted Sonic and essentially forced him to help them take out Flashy Flash and Blast, as they are threats to what they ultimately want to do. And Sonic essentially tricks them going along with this, because we know that he doesn't want to help them. He kind of just wants to reconnect with Flashy Flash, because they grew up in the Ninja Village together and trained together as well. So he sends a letter of challenge to Flashy Flash to have him meet at a specific location. Now, this isn't what the Tenito wanted. They wanted them to meet where they originally found Sonic, in that abandoned warehouse, so this of course is going against what they ultimately wanted, showing us that Sonic isn't really trying to work with them. Like I said, he wants to reconnect with Flashy Flash because he's like his only friend essentially, and Sonic is lonely. And they also want to test each other to see who is superior after all of these years, because as we know, they're both very competitive and delusional to an extent. But the end goal here is to work together after their fight to take down the Tenito. So this latest and hopefully final version of the fight is probably the best, even including the webcomic continuity. It's just a straight fight through the entire chapter, no cutaways and hardly even any dialogue. The fight is somewhat competitive, but across all continuities, it was always Flashy Flash who had the upper hand. It's only really in the webcomic where Sonic is more competitive than others and even stuns Flashy Flash at one point, but it ultimately always ends the same way, with Flashy Flash using his secret ultimate technique to end the battle against Sonic. Now, the things that have been removed from the two previous manga versions of this fight is us seeing flashbacks of them training together as kids and how it's supposed to sync up with what's happening in the current time. I'm not really mad at this because we already know that they grew up together and trained together, and they could always just show this in the following chapters, which I'll get into because, you know, a lot of us already know what's going to happen after this point anyway. In the previous Retcon, we saw that after they had exchanged Windblade kicks, Flashy Flash used the Flash Kicks, which is one of his ultimate techniques, against Sonic mid-fight, and it didn't really do much because Sonic reacted with his exploding shurikens afterwards, and that fight wound up ending with Flashy Flash using his Flash Fist. But in this latest version, it kind of goes back to the original two continuities from the first version and the webcomic, sorry if that's confusing, where we don't see the Flash Fist anymore. It kind of just ends with the Flashy Kicks again. But it actually recreates a moment from the webcomic version where we see Flash's foot like right in front of Sonic's face, right before he gets hit with the Flashy Kicks. But across all of the versions and continuities, it always ends with Flashy Flash being pleasantly surprised that Sonic is able to survive this, where he more or less says, hey, you've gotten stronger. At your current level, you and I should be able to ... And that ellipses is there because of what happens afterwards. It's because the Tenito shows up immediately after this fight concludes, and they all try to attack Flashy Flash with their weapons and whatnot. And they're angry, of course, because like I said, this isn't where they wanted Sonic to meet Flashy Flash. And this is where they realize, oh, you know, we're being double-crossed. And then that leads to Flashy Flash and Sonic teaming up to take on the Heavenly Ninja Party. And, you know, we'll talk about that in the next review, because that's what's going to happen in the next chapter. We are going to have to go through all of these retcons again, unfortunately, as we know, but hopefully it changes up a little. I assume that that fight will be better than the previous two versions, and I think that's maybe where they'll include the flashbacks of Sonic and Flash Flash growing up in the Ninja Village together and training together, and it shows why they're so good at working together and having such great synergy. But then the whole big thing is how how they're going to reintroduce Empty Void. Because in the webcomic, you know, Empty Void shows up and he doesn't even get to fight Flashy Flash and Sonic. He just gets defeated by Saitama, which actually might happen in this new version. Because as we saw in the previous chapter, Saitama takes it upon himself to go out and find Sonic after he hears about what's going on with him and Flashy Flash and the Tanito and everything. And he backtracks one of the letters that Sonic used to send him for challenges. And he's like, oh, it comes from this abandoned warehouse. So I'll just go there and try to have essentially an intervention with Sonic because he doesn't want him to wind up like the Paradisers. But his real goal is to just have Sonic stop bothering him. But there are other motives to this. Saitama does kind of care about Sonic too. And that might lead to Saitama defeating Empty Void, which would be hilarious because if he does, then that's just going to completely remove any kind of momentum that he had before with him having the backstory with Blast and him fighting against Blast, having God's powers and the backstory about his sister and all that stuff. And I wouldn't be mad at that because that means it could just be ultimately used later on, which is what I wanted before. I wanted all of this Empty Void stuff to be fleshed out later on because I think he's going to be one of God's like Akatsuki members or one of his Espada, one of his like main disciples going into like the very final arc of the series where he has like his team, and then that will be like Sonic and Flashy Flash's final fight. I felt like him fighting against Blast was like stealing that thunder. I'm not mad at them having history or anything, but I just feel like Blast has bigger fish to fry, if anything. He should fight a bigger villain than just Empty Void. Hey, but real quick, guys, you should check out Gamer Supps in case you haven't already. They're a great energy supplement that can help you with gaming, studying, or anything that really you want to do. They come in caffeine and caffeine-free, and they also have nootropics in it, like L-theanine, L-tyrosine, and choline L-bitartrate. So it's not just, you know, regular caffeine. It makes you really feel good and focused. If you're looking for a tub to buy, check out the new flavor Nuclear Bombsicle by Casio. It tastes just like a bombsicle. This is already one of my favorite flavors. They also have these awesome sus bars, which are only 100 calories and only has 1 gram of sugar and 8 grams of protein. My favorite flavor is the chocolate. I cannot get enough of these things. They also have Gamer Tea in both caffeinated and non-caffeinated. I personally really like the caffeine-free Sleepy Time with theanine. You can also get some of these awesome gamer soups, which I absolutely love. So guys, check the link in the description and make sure to use code BIGZ for 10% off. Thanks, guys. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this one, guys. I'm probably going to have to repeat myself in the next video, but that's in 2 weeks from now, so hopefully you all forget what I said. But let me know in the comments what you think about this, and have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.